Hey, welcome everyone. I didn't mean to be an attention grabber rotating from fruit to cheese. What did I mean by that? Last week in the live trade room, what we did was we picked up a call spread in Apple for the the December 31st expiration, which is next week. And we were looking for Apple to get between 130 135. No way did I expect this type of a move on this news that occurred today, but we did take advantage by dumping that trade. So we were rotating out of an option trade. I'm not saying to sell Apple as a stock. I really hope I didn't give that impression on my tweet and then what we were talking about in the newsletter, in the live trading room this week. Because rotating out of Apple, it was an option trade, but I did buy, and today I wanted everyone to see that we rotated. We came a little bit in and started to pick up some staples, namely Kraft Heinz mac and cheese. So therefore, the fruit being Apple, rotating into cheese being Kraft Heinz. I mean, Kraft American cheese or mac and cheese. What was the nature of that trade? First, the option was an option trade on Apple. So there's only so much we can make on that, and then obviously there's exposure to more downside out of Apple. I mean, if it broke back to 130, 129 at expiration next week, you had no money, and you actually turn a winner into a loser. So therefore, we just took the profits on the Apple. I want to share this. May be a little hard to see. I'm going to expand it. This is part of my research in the newsletter. Let's see if we could maybe expand upon it just a tad. This is something that I wrote in an article I've been following. It's an 11-week cycle. It's got a lot of history behind it. And let's see if I can zoom this into you. It's pretty scary thought process. The red arrow shows where the cycle was either early and worked or just right around the timing element before market peaked out. And we had a big one here that occurred back in, you might recall, a little sell-off there in late February. It was right in time for the 11-week cycle. Now, these dashed lines is what we call, it's a cycle finder tool using Genesis Financial. I did this cycle work when I first published this in an article in Futures Magazine back in December. It was the 2002 December article, Futures Magazine, called Combining Cycles and Pivot Points to Predict Major Market Moves. And so most people will use cycle analysis for bottom picking, but also you can use cycle analysis for looking at a timing element for when markets peak after reactionary rallies. And so that's what we obviously have, a reactionary rally right now. I just wanted to explain to you that I am starting to get a little bit more or less optimistic on the market. Not per se looking for a huge downdraft, but I would say a correction would be quite common, especially considering what do we have going on, with the incoming president and the inauguration on the 20th, possibly a runoff election that may or may not go well or for the market. And I'm not talking about for a politician. I'm talking about how the market reaction is for the market itself. And when I look at another tool, this is a McClellan oscillator, showing a weakening structure which is reflective of the advanced decline or the breadth analysis. We're rallying on weakening technical structure, believe it or not. We've had enormous moves in the market in a very short order today. Peloton, the list of names of stocks that just moved out of thin air is pretty crazy. Now, what does that show? It shows that there's a lot of money. It shows that there's a lot of carelessness, possibly, that people are willing to pay any price just to get in. Airbnb, might be a good trade longer term, but I'm sure sometime in my life, between now and, say, the next 200 days, with seasonality, with maybe tax law changes that could come with the new administration, somehow I believe there's going to be other opportunities that don't have that risk. I don't need to be in these trades and buying the stock like a Peloton at these levels and chasing trades. I think it's one thing that I've learned in my lifetime is pay the right price for a stock. It's a lot better to miss an opportunity than get stuck holding a loser for a long time. And that's just a couple things that I just wanted to point out to you. I see some relative weakness in the market. I wanted to share with you some of the work that we cover in our live trading room. Number one, this is the advanced decline on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Today we left with a PPS sell signal. But again, we've had sell signal, buy signal, sell signal, buy signal. I mean, the market's trying to grind higher. But this is what really bothers me the most. That's the advanced decline. We just formed a lower low, lower high combination. This is my proprietary volume indicator. It's trending down. Price is going up. Volume is weakening. And so is the advanced decline. All right, that's the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Let's take a look at who trades that? Who cares, right? Let's look at the Qs, the NASDAQ 100. Now that is something that might interest us all. While today we did not generate a sell signal, what is interesting to note that we did form a little doji today, right there, there's your doji, and the advanced decline had a slight weakening structure. Volume is off, and this is an interesting little study for you. This, we took Sherman McClellan's oscillator, the McClellan oscillator, using his formula, modified it a bit, and adjusted the scale to reflect data that comes from the NASDAQ 100. Now, the McClellan oscillator, I shared with you in the other graph with Genesis, is based off the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index. I like the concept about a moving average function of the condition, the number of stocks up or down over time, and that's pretty much in essence what the McClellan oscillator represents, using a moving average formula. Now, and it's an oscillator. But we had something interesting today on the strongest beast in the world, which is the NASDAQ 100. We had a zero-line breakdown. Zero-line breakdowns generally don't inspire new, fresh buying at highs. That's a problem. So that's just for your information. When everyone's so bullish the market, I'd have to say, let's take a step back and say, what is the overall condition top-down approach of the market? And so if you take a look at this is a proprietary volume indicator. This is on-balance volume up here. It's out of focus because on-balance volume is always out of focus because of the nature of its value. Anyway, we can see that we have a lower peak in the structure of that moving average of the volume, and you can see that we have a higher high price. Well, that in itself, higher prices with lower indicator is a divergence. So we have 1, we have 2, and right here we have a third element of questionable strength in the market, which would be a cause for concern. Next, lastly, let's take a look at the Russell. Now, the Russell had another kind of breakout trade. Everyone seems to be wanting to finally get on the Russell. You guys may remember about a month and a half ago, I prepped everybody for looking at Russell relative to Dow. In fact, I did a big YouTube video. If you follow me on YouTube, I showed you how to, and this is Thinkorswim. This is the trades that we look at. Here's Apple, which one of the reasons we were looking at Apple, by the way, and had the call spreads on. Very nice trade there. We spent time going through how to build and follow a Russell, long Russell, IWM, short diamond. And as you can see, this is on balance volume on the trade, and it's got strong trending volume. That's pretty wholesome. We have daily pivots in fuchsia and weekly pivot in blue. Now these are the person pivots, and then you have the PPS indicator on this spread. So the theory is, as daily pivots are greater than weekly pivots projected to be higher than the prior week, it's a bullish outlook, and it still is bullish on the Russell. Conditions here are bullish. I'm not going to lie to you. It's still bullish on the Russell. I'm not saying to sell the Russell. I don't see trouble yet. It doesn't mean it can't come and get slammed, but bottom line is that the condition of the different indices and what the weightings, and that's what you got to understand. What is the weightings? And this is a great lesson for you. What makes the indexes tick? Biotech, technology, large cap consumer discretionary like Costco and Starbucks are in the Qs. The S&Ps have a strong weight with financials and energy. And what about the Russell? Small cap banks and energy. And there's a few other items in there, but those are the ones that really lead the Russell. So people are buying into that space. So that's interesting, and I'll show you in just a second why. If everyone's so bullish on the S&Ps and the Qs and the Dow, then riddle me this, if you would. The technical indicators, while they could change and we could spike right back up, they are not strengthening on this rally. Today, by the way, at the end of the S&Ps, we generated a PPS sell signal on a daily basis. I'm not a big fan of that, by the way. More importantly, let's take a look. This is my volume indicator, and it is going negative, 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 and this is the McClellan oscillator, the John Person modified McClellan oscillator. As you see here, it's a JP McClellan oscillator. Again, this McClellan oscillator, different than the Qs. Why? Because it's using the data, the advanced decline analysis from the S&P 500. I might not be the smartest knife or the smartest guy in the room, but I ain't the dumbest one either. And I felt, why if I'm trading the S&Ps or the Qs, why do I use a McClellan oscillator that's based on data from the NYSE? I'm not trading the NYSE. And the New York Stock Exchange Composite Index had different weightings that affect it. And if you think in this term, what is the year-to-date performance on the NYSE? What is the year-to-date performance on the Dow? What is the year-to-date performance on the Qs? Has anyone ever taken a look at that? And that may help you to uncover if there is a difference or not within how these indexes trade, which, by the way, the Dow Jones is only up for the year 7%. The Russell's up now 19%. And the Qs as of Friday were up 46%. Pretty crazy. By the way, this is you can take time to pause this and read this. This is the weekly newsletter. This was a dear friend of mine. We lost Harry back in 2017. And anyway, you can kind of read this story in here, but that's me. That's Big Daddy-O. Harry had asked me to be Santa Claus that night, and if you scroll down, you could read this. But anyway, I do want to wish everyone a Merry Christmas if we don't have another chance to do another update between now and Christmas. What my point that I wanted to get this video out to you is to say all is not well in the marketplace. We have weakening technical structures in the market. Lastly, let me get to my monthly trade analysis. Hold on one second here. Let's get that. Oh, by the way, here's our interesting little thing here. This is when we came up with the Algo 17 program for retail traders, we gave everyone a workspace. And one of them was the Bitcoin GBTC. Now, this was well before the Chicago Board of Options Exchange came out with their program and product, and it delisted, and then the Mercantile Exchange. So this was at one point, other than the Bitcoin, this was the only other market you could trade in equities-wise. And incidentally, it had been long on the GBTC. And look at the volume structure. It is, on my indicator, it's showing divergence. And the market had a secondary higher high. Ironically, it exited a long position it had been in. This has had a really great run this year. This, again, is a 60-minute model. All right, enough of that. Let's get into the real story that I wanted to present to you guys, and it's this. It's almost Christmas. It's almost the end of the year. And I wanted to take a look at some fresh new monthly buy signals. And that's what's blinking. If it's blinking and if it says low close doji, that's not a good sign. This is a monthly sell signal. It's warning me right now. These are all, by the way, the utility sector. You could see right now the utility sector is flashing a bunch of sell signals. Interesting. I mean, big names too. I mean, they're just not performing well. This is Duke Energy. You could see NiSource. Okay, who cares about that if you're trading Peloton and looking for some big game moves? Well, it's interesting because we're starting to see some stocks sell off, and here's a name like a rotation like a Nordstrom, which generated last month a nice big monthly buy signal, and that shows that maybe perhaps there's rotation, not just for real in the theory of reopening the economy, but in the way things are moving. Well, by the way, Alibaba, it's kind of interesting, is in a generated monthly sell signal. The weekly analysis volume structure doesn't look wholesome. I mean, I'm not saying it can't turn around at the end of the month, but we're running out of daylight savings time on how many trading days are left of the month. Monthly signals are very powerful in of themselves, especially when you look at the condition of the sell signal, meaning is it down on heavy volume? And that's one of the things that we see happening right now. So moral of the story, we've got some names. If you take a look today, I put out a kind of that tweet I wanted to talk about, which getting out of fruit and into cheese. Kraft Heinz. What is it doing? You can clearly see it's blinking with a fresh new buy signal up. Here's Kraft Heinz on a monthly basis. The volume analysis is so strong on a longer term basis. All right, great. It's probably not going to get you rich quick. It's probably not sexy. It's not Peloton. It's not DoorDash. I know it's not Airbnb, IPO stock. But you know what? It has a very low risk type of trade, Kraft Heinz, and it has an amazing monthly basing action. Someone is in there buying this. You can clearly see the volume structure shows strong accumulation. So that's why I thought, okay, end of the year, if we do get more rotation, this would be a stock that we could start to look at buying for the next 90 days. And that's why I put that out there today. All right, that's Kraft Heinz. Let's take a look at what's making this darn Russell tick. Got to go for that. We got to scroll all the way up. As you can see how I've laid out my trade station program for the person product is that we've listed all the sectors and the top stocks in that sector. What do you see blinking a lot here? A lot of green, a lot of ups, and oh yeah, it's in the energy space. So we already have Royal Dutch Shell with a monthly buy signal from the month of November. It's pulling back a little bit. Volume structure still is very maintaining strength. So it had a hell of a run on a weekly trade. So, a little pullback would not be inappropriate. Apache, by the way, is generating, I don't know if it's going to close and generate that official monthly buy signal and by crossing the threshold on the close December 31st, but it is worth at least presenting to you, the YouTube viewer, what the technical signals are doing and what is the condition, the volume structure of said buy signals. And with Royal Dutch Shell, you can clearly see there is an uptick in the volume. There's more new, fresh warnings of buy signal in the energy space now. Here's Hess. You've got Occidental, Pioneer Natural Resources, PXD, and pretty much you would see that almost the entire space will be filled in with new, fresh, longer-term buy signals. This is not day traders. This is not option traders. This is institutional traders. And if there's higher time frame buy signals with strengthening volume condition, it confirms that, by the way, institution traders just don't jump in and jump out a lot of times, right? This is a very strong reason why we saw the Russell up. But, man can't live on energy alone. And by the way, that tells me that while this might be good at spreading the wealth a bit, trying to pick the right stocks in this sector, what we've done rather than go all in is kind of scale in one name, which is Marathon Petroleum. Another one would be Schlumberger, which we're already in those two trades. We have tight stops. We raised them up. And then PSXP. But the point is that on the trades, we're starting to see technical buying coming into that space, and we're getting maybe other areas like I'd share with you in the home builders, a Best Buy. Now that's pretty scary. It's generating a monthly sell signal. Volume is coming right out of the downside of that market in Best Buy. So perhaps people don't need to buy as many TVs anymore as this move may have expunged itself or run out of its welcome, so to speak. So there is rotation happening right now before our very eyes, and I think that with the 11-week cycle suggesting that there's maybe a temporary peak in the market, it's due for a little pullback. These pullbacks, they could probably not be like what we had last February, which was brutal for some. We were right on that. But I think the market is, for chasing markets and being cautious of what you're doing and where you're putting your money, if we do get a correction, maybe one feeds on itself, and then you'll get a chance to buy stuff like DoorDash or Airbnb at a lot cheaper. And that's the message that I wanted to bring to your attention. Why is all of this blank? Because I'm sitting here with monthly pivots and monthly analysis, and these are all new IPOs. They have no monthly, they just came out this month. So it's hard for me to give a long-term technical picture on an IPO. But needless to say, while Airbnb was probably the hot trade of the week. I'd have to say, or last week and into this week, someone's deciding in the volume structure weakening, someone's deciding that they don't feel too compelled to want to be aggressively long up in this zone here. So again, stock trading and option trading, directional is about timing, but investing is also about getting into the right stock at the right price. If the price isn't right and the conditions aren't good, in other words, a stock's going up and accumulation of volume, okay, great. Stock going up and the volume going down, not so great. So there is some big changes going on in the marketplace. We can clearly see some of the names that are starting to provide new fresh buys for the month, and some are presenting new fresh sells, and that's the great rotation. Thanks for listening. I know this video went too long for a YouTube channel, but I wanted to just share with you, is there proof positive of technical indications of a rotation underway? And I hope you found the answer is yes. Listen, have a Merry Christmas. And it goes without saying, be safe. And what's the first thing you want to do? Well, don't walk in front of an oncoming bus, number one. And if you see someone without a mask sneezing, run away from them. Have a great holiday, Merry Christmas. And if we don't cross paths before the new year, I hope the information served you well. Take care, everyone.